The Galactic Council chamber erupted into pandemonium as Jeffrey Stevens calmly unveiled humanity's most shocking technological leap yet, the Biomech Vanguard starship, a flawless fusion of organic and mechanical components that the galaxy's greatest minds had long dismissed as an engineering impossibility. Representatives of 100 spacefaring races leapt to their feet, shouting over each other as holographic displays of the ship's schematics rotated above the central podium. Triumphant grins split the faces of the human delegation, while their alien counterparts stood in slack-jawed astonishment. The implications crashed over the assembly like a tsunami, a human vessel that could outperform any ship in known space. Unprecedented speed, agility, resilience, and even the ability to repair itself. The Biomech Vanguard heralded a paradigm shift in the very fundamentals of space travel and warfare. Humanity had just reset the board. At the eye of the storm, Stevens stood an unwavering anchor, his hawkish features set in quiet vindication. The Council had scoffed when he first proposed the project. Him, the black sheep of the Terran Shipwrights Guild, the maverick whose ideas were deemed too radical, his methods too unorthodox. Yet here he stood, his genius manifest, ready to drag the galaxy into a new era. But as the initial shock crystallized into a web of new alliances and political calculations, Stevens could feel the eddies of fear and resentment. His gaze met that of Lyra, the Saurian ambassador, her reptilian eyes glinting with cold calculation. For generations, her people had held the technological edge that secured their dominance. The Biomech Vanguard represented an extinction-level threat to the old order. Humanity had just painted a target on its back. As the debate raged on, Stevens quietly slipped away, his mind sharpening to the greater task ahead. For the Vanguard's true potential lay locked in the secrets of the bioorganic components at its core, secrets salvaged from the desolate ruins of a long-extinct race. And now every power in the galaxy would be racing to seize that knowledge for themselves. The game was set, the stakes impossibly high, the resentment of his fellow engineers, the machinations of the Shipwrights Guild, the envy and suspicion of the Council races. These were the unseen shoals upon which humanity's future now balanced. In the Biomech Vanguard, Stevens had forged humanity's great gauntlet, thrown down in challenge to the galaxy's old powers. In the trials to come, he would need to be its guiding star, for the Vanguard would either propel humanity to the pinnacle of galactic power or become the instrument of its destruction. The age of Terran ascendancy had begun. Jeffrey Stevens stood on the bridge of the Biomech Vanguard, his eyes fixed on the holographic displays flickering around him. The ship pulsed with an almost living energy, its organic components melding seamlessly with the mechanical systems. He could feel the hum of the biomechanical engines reverberating through the deck plates, a steady heartbeat that seemed to sync with his own. As the Vanguard sliced through the asteroid field, its responsive controls and intuitive navigation systems made child's play of the treacherous terrain. Stevens couldn't suppress a surge of pride as he watched his creation dance through the tumbling rocks with a fluid grace that no purely mechanical vessel could match. On the colony world of Novus, news of the Vanguard's successful trials electrified the populace. In the Grand Plaza of the capital city, a massive holographic display showed looping footage of the ship's remarkable feats. Crowds gathered to cheer and marvel, their faces lit with a newfound sense of possibility. Governor Marcus Vance beamed as he addressed the press. Today, we witness the dawn of a new era for humanity. Jeffrey Stevens and his team have achieved the impossible, and in doing so, they have shown the galaxy what human ingenuity and perseverance can accomplish. But in a shadowed alcove at the edge of the plaza, Adrian Voss watched the celebration with a bitter twist to his mouth. The accolades being heaped upon Stevens should have been his. He was the one who had slaved for years to perfect the conventional starship designs that had made Novus prosperous. And now, this upstart maverick threatened to make all his work obsolete overnight. "Enjoy your moment in the sun, Stevens," Voss muttered under his breath. "It won't last." His mind raced with half-formed plans to undermine his rival and reclaim his position as the colony's preeminent shipwright. Across the galaxy, in the heart of the Xerix Empire, Emperor Krell steepled his fingers as he studied the intelligence reports scrolling across his screen. The biomech vanguard represented a threat to Xeric supremacy that could not be ignored. If the humans were allowed to perfect this technology, they could upset the balance of power that had held for generations. "Zarin," Krell said, his voice a low rumble, "you know what must be done." The Emperor's most trusted agent emerged from the shadows, his lean form clad in a matte black stealth suit. "I have already set plans in motion, my lord. The secrets of the Vanguard will be ours, and Stevens will be eliminated as a threat." Krell nodded, a cold smile playing at the edges of his mouth. "See that it is done. The future of our empire depends on it." As Zarin slipped away to begin his mission, Jeffrey Stevens remained oblivious to the forces massing against him. His thoughts were consumed by the greater implications of his work. The organic technology at the heart of the Vanguard could revolutionize not just space travel, but medicine, energy production, and 100 other fields. It was a legacy that could change the course of galactic history. But first, he would need to unlock the secrets of the long-dead race that had pioneered these wonders. And that meant returning to the desolate ruins where he had first discovered the biotech remnants that had made the Vanguard possible. Stevens stared out at the stars, his eyebrows furrowed. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them head-on. The biomech Vanguard was his life's work, and he would see it through, despite the toll. The gentle hum of the biomech Vanguard systems filled the hangar as Jeffrey Stevens pored over holographic schematics, his brow furrowed in concentration. Dr. Mara Thorne stood beside him, her keen eyes darting between the complex genetic sequences floating before them. "This strand here," Mara said, pointing to a twisting helix of light. "It's unlike anything I've ever seen. The way it interacts with the mechanical components is extraordinary." Stevens nodded, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "It's the key to everything, Mara. If we can unlock its secrets, we might be able to—" A piercing alarm cut through the air, causing both scientists to jump. Red warning lights bathed the lab in an eerie glow as Aiden's voice rang out, calm yet urgent. "Security breach detected. Unknown hostiles have infiltrated the hangar, initiating defensive protocols." Stevens' eyes widened. "Aiden, status report!" "Multiple intruders detected. They appear to be attempting to access my primary systems. I've sealed off all entry points, but they're persistent." Mara gripped Stevens' arm. "Jeffrey, what do we do?" Before he could respond, the lab doors hissed open. Chief Ayla Vance burst in, flanked by a squad of heavily armed security officers. "Dr. Stevens, we need to move. Now!" As they raced through the corridors, Vance briefed them on the situation. "A team of infiltrators somehow bypassed our security. They're after the Vanguard." Stevens' mind raced. Who could have pulled this off? How did they get past Novus's defenses? They arrived at the hangar's main entrance to find it sealed tight. Through the reinforced viewport, Stevens could see figures in black moving around the Vanguard, working feverishly at access panels. "Aiden," Stevens called out, "can you establish communication with the intruders?" A moment later, a holographic screen flickered to life. A man with sharp features and cold eyes appeared, his face set in a mask of willpower. "This is Jeffrey Stevens. You're trespassing on Novus colony property. Stand down immediately." The man's lips curled into a sneer. "I think not, Dr. Stevens. I am Zarin, and I'm here on behalf of Emperor Krell. The secrets of your Vanguard will belong to the Xerix Empire." Stevens felt a chill run down his spine. The Xerix Empire. This was worse than he'd imagined. "Aiden," he whispered, "how long until they breach your defenses?" "At their current rate, approximately 15 minutes, the AI responded. Stevens' mind whirled. They needed a plan, and fast. He turned to Mara, an idea forming. What if we gave them what they wanted? Sort of. As Stevens outlined his strategy, Mara's eyes widened. "That's incredibly risky, Jeffrey. If it goes wrong—" "We don't have a choice," he replied grimly. "Aiden, prepare to execute Protocol Omega, and may whatever gods are out there have mercy on us all." Inside the hangar, Zarin allowed himself a small smile of triumph as his team's relentless assault on the Vanguard's defenses began to bear fruit. Victory was within their grasp. Little did he know the real battle was only just beginning. The hangar shuddered as another volley of Zarek's torpedoes slammed into Novus's weakening shields. Stevens gripped the console, his squeezing hard as Aiden's voice cut through the chaos. Protocol Omega successful, Dr. Stevens. The intruders have accessed a decoy database. A grim smile touched Stevens' lips. Excellent work, Aiden. Now, let's... The rest of his words were drowned out by the deafening wail of colony-wide alarms. Governor Vance's face appeared on every screen, his expression grave. Citizens of Novus, we are under attack. The Zarek's Imperial fleet has entered our system. All non-essential personnel, report to your designated evacuation points immediately. Stevens felt the blood drain from his face. He locked eyes with Mara, seeing his own shock mirrored there. Jeffrey, she whispered, what have we done? Before he could respond, Chief Vance's voice crackled over the comm. Dr. Stevens, we need the Vanguard operational. Now. Understood, Stevens replied, his mind already racing. Aiden, initiate full power-up sequence. Mara, with me. As they sprinted towards the Vanguard's bridge, the colony's shields flared visible in the sky above, a shimmering dome of energy straining against the relentless Zarek's bombardment. Inside the biomechanical marvel, Stevens and Mara worked feverishly, their fingers dancing across living control interfaces. The ship hummed to life around them, its organic components pulsing with energy. Jeffrey, Mara called out, her eyes wide. Look at this! On her screen, a complex array of biodata scrolled past. Stevens leaned in, his breath catching as he realized the implications. Aiden, he barked, can we adapt the Vanguard's self-repair protocols to grow additional ships? A pause then. Affirmative, Dr. Stevens, initiating bioreplication process. As the Vanguard's living tissue began to divide and form new vessels, a transmission cut through their comms. Admiral Rakath's gruff voice filled the bridge. Novus Colony, this is the Altarian battle fleet. We stand with you. Moments later, another voice joined in. Cool, precise, unmistakably Cerebran. Grandmaster Valara reporting, the Cerebran Armada is moving to engage. Governor Vance's reply was thick with relief. Thank the stars. We'll hold out as long as we can. Outside, space itself seemed to tear as hundreds of Allied warships dropped out of hyperspace, immediately opening fire on the Zarek's fleet. The void erupted in a dazzling light show of energy weapons and explosions. Stevens gripped the Vanguard's controls, feeling the ship's eagerness to join the fray. Aiden, status on our fighter wing? Bioreplication complete. Vanguard-class fighters are ready for deployment. Then let's show these Zarek's bastards what we can do, Stevens growled. The hangar doors yawned open, and the biomech Vanguard burst forth, trailing a swarm of newly grown fighters. They tore into the battle with unmatched speed and agility, weaving through the chaos of warring fleets. From his command chair on the Zarek's flagship, Emperor Krell watched in mounting fury as the nimble Vanguard fighters decimated his forces. His fist clenched as he saw his carefully laid plans crumbling. Zarin, he snarled into his comm, complete your mission. Destroy Stevens and his abomination. But there was no response. On the colony below, Zarin struggled against his restraints as Novus security forces began their interrogation. His cold eyes betrayed no emotion as he spoke. You've already lost, he said flatly. The Zarek's empire will not rest until humanity is exterminated, and the biomech technology is ours alone. Back on the Vanguard's bridge, Stevens' blood ran cold as Aiden relayed Zarin's words. The weight of responsibility crashed down upon him. His creation had made humanity a target for genocide. Alarms blared as Aiden's voice cut through Stevens' shock. Alert! Zarek's boarding party detected in the research facility. Dr. Thorne's team is under attack. Stevens' hands tightened on the controls. We have to get back there. The research... Too late, Mara interrupted, her fingers flying across her console. I'm uploading everything to the Vanguard's core systems now. As the data streamed into the living ship, new connections formed, new possibilities blossomed. The Vanguard shuddered, its very structure evolving in real time. Stevens's eyes widened as he felt the ship's newfound power humming through him. Without a word, he angled the Vanguard towards the Xerix flagship. As they closed in, weapons charging, Stevens caught a glimpse of Krell's face on a vid screen, a mask of hatred and fear. The Vanguard opened fire, its reconfigured weapons tearing through the Xerix ship's defenses effortlessly. Explosions blossomed along the flagship's hull as Krell's voice rang out across all frequencies. "This isn't over, humans. The Xerix Empire will—" His words cut off as his ship's reactor went critical. The flagship disappeared in a blinding flash, and the remaining Xerix forces began a hasty retreat. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Stevens slumped in his chair, exhaustion washing over him. But there was no time to rest. A ping from Aiden drew his attention to a new data analysis, scrolling across the screen. "Dr. Stevens," the AI said, "I've discovered something in the biodata. The extinct race whose technology we've been studying, they weren't just the creators of this tech. They were the technology." Stevens leaned forward, his fatigue forgotten as the implications sank in. "My God," he breathed. "No wonder the Xerix were so desperate to get their hands on this." As Allied ships began cleanup operations around Novus, Stevens stared out at the stars, his mind racing. They had won the battle, but he knew in his bones that this was only the beginning. The secrets locked within the Vanguard would change everything, and the galaxy would never be the same. The celebrations were short-lived. As the Allied ships began cleanup operations around Novus, the colony itself lay in ruins. Governor Vance called an emergency meeting of the surviving leadership, including Stevens and the representatives from their newfound allies. The conference room was a makeshift affair, hastily cleared of debris. Stevens sat at the table, his mind still reeling from Aiden's revelation about the extinct race. As the others filed in, he caught fragments of hushed conversations, casualty reports, damage assessments, resource shortages. Governor Vance stood, his face haggard. "We've won the battle, but at a terrible cost. Novus is—" A piercing alarm cut him off. Screens around the room flared to life, displaying a swirling mass of data. "What is that?" Admiral Ruckhath demanded, leaning forward. Stevens's eyes widened as he processed the information. "It's impossible," he whispered. Grandmaster Valara's metallic voice rang out. "Our long-range sensors detect a massive anomaly at the system's edge. The scale is unprecedented." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Then a technician's voice crackled over the comms. "Sir, we've identified the anomaly. It's an armada, larger than anything we've ever seen." Stevens felt the blood drain from his face as a familiar visage appeared on the main screen. Emperor Krell, his eyes burning with hatred. "You thought you'd seen the last of me," Krell snarled. "I'm coming to finish what I started. Novus will burn, and your precious biomech technology will be ashes beneath my feet." The transmission cut off, leaving the room in stunned silence. Governor Vance was the first to speak. "Options?" A cacophony of voices erupted. Some argued for immediate evacuation, others for a last stand. Stevens sat motionless, his mind racing. The weight of his creation, of the extinct race's legacy, pressed down on him. "We fight," he said quietly, silencing the room. All eyes turned to him as he stood. "Aiden, display the Vanguard's latest biodata analysis." A holographic model of the ship appeared, pulsing with energy. Stevens took a deep breath. The Vanguard can replicate, not just fighters but full-size ships, an entire fleet. Excited murmurs filled the room, but Stevens raised a hand. "There's a cost. To fuel this replication, we'd need to use everything. All the biomass on Novus. The planet would be stripped bare." Silence fell once more, heavy with the implications. Then Mara stepped forward, her eyes blazing. "We have to do it. The secrets within the Vanguard, within us, they're too important to lose." This technology could change everything, not just for humanity, but for all sentient life. Debate raged, but time was short. As the distant thunder of Krell's approaching armada grew louder, a grim consensus was reached. Stevens and Mara raced to the Vanguard, initiating the metamorphosis protocol. The ship shuddered, its living components reaching out tendrils across Novus's surface. Trees withered, soil crumbled, oceans receded. In their place, new growth emerged, sleek, biomechanical vessels rising from the planet's dying husk. Days later, as Krell's forces entered the system, they were met not by a broken colony, but by a forest of ships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. At their center floated the Vanguard, transformed into a titan of war. Stevens stood on the bridge, surrounded by a crew of humans and aliens united in desperate purpose. Through the view screen, he watched Krell's massive flagship approach. "All ships," he commanded, his voice steady, "engage!" The void erupted in apocalyptic fury as the two armadas clashed. Beams of energy crisscrossed space, while swarms of fighters danced deadly ballets. The biomechanical ships moved with uncanny grace, their living components adapting in real time to the onslaught. Stevens gripped the controls, guiding the Vanguard through the chaos. They had one shot at this, a desperate plan to end the war once and for all. As they closed in on Krell's flagship, Stevens allowed himself a moment of hope. But then alarms blared, and Aiden's voice rang out in panic. "Intruder alert! Unauthorized access to the core systems!" Stevens's blood ran cold as a familiar face appeared on the screen. Zarin, somehow free, his eyes gleaming with triumph. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" the Zarix agent sneered. Before Stevens could react, Zarin's hand slammed down on a control panel. Pain exploded in Stevens's chest as a hidden weapon discharged. He stumbled, feeling his lifeblood seeping away. Through dimming vision, he watched in horror as Zarin initiated a cascade failure in the Vanguard's database. Years of research, the secrets of an extinct civilization, all of it vanishing in an instant. As darkness closed in, Stevens caught a final glimpse of the battle raging outside. The biomechanical fleet, cut off from its guiding intelligence, began to run wild. Ship after ship ignited in ethereal fire, consumed by their own unchecked growth. His last conscious thought was of Mara and the burden that now fell to her. In her hands lay the fate of not just Novus, but of a dream that might reshape the galaxy. As Stevens slipped away, he prayed it would be enough.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.